The following is a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
From the birthplace of modern winemaking, Sonoma, California, welcome to The Winemakers. Local experts Sam Couturi, Bart Hansen, and Brian Casey invite you to listen in as they discuss all facets of winemaking. So sit back, pour yourself a glass, and let's hear what the guys have to say this week.
Hell yeah, Pinot Noir. Oh, no, wait. It's
Bubble gum. This smells just like double bubble.
This
is not Beaujolais.
Why? What does it say on the bottle?
It says Nouveau.
Oh, it says Nouveau. Sorry.
Beaujolais is a district sommelier.
Thank you. Barolo, Brunello.
Right.
Yeah, Scribe dropped off. A bunch of them were here tasting the other day, so they dropped off a bottle of Nouveau, which it's Nouveau season is coming up.
Well, yeah. Well, isn't it like November 21st or something when the French bring the Nouveaux over? I think it is.
Jamie should know. He's a
Just
Pinot
before
guy.
Thanksgiving.
It's not Pinot, though.
What do they make Nouveau out of?
Gamay.
Oh, it's all Gamay.
That's
Similar
why.
Well, so here's the thing. There's a bunch of people doing Nouveau around here in Sonoma that aren't using Gamay.
Right. But then there is that Gamay vineyard that was thought to be Pinot for all those years. Mike Hinghold owns it, and they found out that it was actually Gamay. So then all of a sudden, all these
Cool kids
all wanted a piece of it.
Yeah.
And so they're all doing it. And I thought Scribe was one of those. So that's why I'm kind of surprised that, of course, maybe they're using that for the non-Nouveau release. Anyway.
Well, yeah, and Danielle's got some Gamay.
Right.
Which she'll be here shortly. She broke something.
Right.
I'm not exactly sure exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Not on her
Probably
body.
sample. So welcome to the Winemakers.
Jamie Kutch.
Yeah, we are honored to have
5 years.
the great
8
Jamie
years
Kutch.
coming.
Yes.
Jamie, for those of you who don't know this, Jamie and I and Steve Law from McLaren, we share a winemaking facility. And so we have been fortunate enough to open many great bottles. And during harvest, we try to spend some time on a fairly regular basis, not so much this year, opening bottles and talking about them. And
Not only wine, though, right? Weren't you guys on a little, what was it?
we were on a booze.
You were on an Amaro thing.
Right. We did Amaro. We also did Mezcal.
Yes.
What else was it that you brought in? You brought in some brandy.
Yep.
Yeah, we had all sorts of stuff this year.
Well, and then I know the only way I know Jamie, because I haven't seen him in a really long time, is he used to come and sit at the bar at the Girl in the Fig with, remind me of her name?
Joanna,
who then started a label called Model Farm, which was super cool because it was a vineyard that she was actually farming that was like the closest vineyard to my house in Roner Park.
Cool.
But I think you guys used to drink, didn't you used to drink Chartreuse VEP?
We did. We drank a lot of cocktails when we'd go there, just...
I don't think I ever saw you drinking wine.
Yeah, I explore. I feel like any kind of spirit or alcohol is fun to explore, and that's been the journey, right?
So wait, what happened to her anyway? Is she still making wine?
She still is, yes. She's making wine, Model Farm. She's working and making some other. She has a couple other projects. Alta, a word with Alta. I can't remember the second part, but she's great. Yeah, I saw her once or twice this last harvest.
Cool. And you, I mean, I know you for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay.
That's right.
Are you branching out at all, or are you sticking to your guns?
We pretty much stick. I am the way I describe it sometimes is that I live at the altar of Burgundy, but I am not trying to make Burgundy here. Yeah. But let's say at the altar of the religion, so the belief of terroir, the belief that, maybe in Burgundy you're making either Pinot Noir or Chardonnay. In Burgundy, they make a fin de Bourgogne, which is a brandy. We actually started creating a brandy in 2013, I think was our first vintage of brandy.
Just
from
for
the
yourself, or you were?
No, it was commercial. We usually make 60 to 90 bottles of that. I think we tasted that this harvest. Just something else fun. Yeah. So, Yeah, that's been a journey.
That's a Deep Wine Club member gets those, offered those.
That's the club within the club.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Cool Kid Club.
Totally. I know. How much wine do you make currently?
We sit about 3,000 cases at production-wise. We've been there maybe since 2012. My brand I started in 2005. So
20 years.
yeah, production can move up and down a hair.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bart. Yes, we are indeed releasing next year our 20th anniversary. I'm looking at a bottle right now of 2024 Kutch Pinot Noir, and it has a tiny red stamp in the corner. And it says 20th anniversary. So it's pretty exciting. You know, you're, I don't know how the time goes so fast, but it's been a lot of fun.
You got a little more gray hair than the last time I saw you.
Yeah, I would say it's stressful being in the wine industry.
Yep.
So let's back up a little bit. And, you know, Jamie, you're from New York, right?
Correct.
And what was it about Burgundy, or what was it about your life that led you to stand at the altar of Burgundy? Did I say that right?
Yeah, you said it right. That's right.
And I don't mean I'm not trying to make fun of you by that at all, but what is it?
Yeah.
You know, what was the bottle? What was the experience?
It really started far before that. It started in high school. High school, I used to be interested in wine before, you'd go to the party. You'd go to the keg party. Gosh, I don't know if kids have keg parties anymore. But
I don't even know. They're like White Claw parties.
Right. You'd go to the beach and there'd be a keg. Well, I would roll in sometimes with a bottle of wine. I enjoyed the taste of it. Now, granted, that was at 18, 19, and it was often probably with residual sugar. It would be oftentimes a Shiraz. Would it be Shiraz? Yeah, from Australia, not Syrah. Shiraz. And it was just a road to start and to get hooked a little bit on wine.
Was it that I mean, you were underage? Was it that you had access to steal bottles of that from your parents?
I think,
your parents' cellar, and that's what it was?
Yeah, my dad drank wine every day. He would drink jugs, but they weren't objected. They didn't object to alcohol consumption in small amounts as long as they were dropping me off and picking me up. I think parents have, parents are, should have more liberties instead of trying to yell at and keep from. Kids are going to explore. So, that led to college. And in college, I got into German Riesling. I went to college in the Bronx at Fordham University, and sometimes would go down into Manhattan on the weekends and go to a wine tasting. And once there was a guy named Willie Gluckstein or Gluckstern, and he would put on an event for 30 people, and you'd taste 6-8 bottles, and it'd be $20-$25, and just educating still. Finally, let me fast forward because I don't want to burn too much time.
Well, hold on. Can I back up for a second?
Please.
Bart, who was the guy that we had on that was running the bar program in New York that they used to have like 20 Rieslings on by the glass? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I do. Give me a second and I'll remember.
Okay. I was just wondering if Jamie had ever...
Wow. Well, Lyle Fass was real. He's big into German Riesling.
We like Lyle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then at Fordham, at college, the gentleman who lived right upstairs from me in my dorm in my second year was a gentleman named Gerald Reedy. He went on to be the president of Holy Cross. But at that time, he was pretty high up at Fordham, and culturally, he was interested in wine, duck and lamb chops and cooking and classical music. So me and sometimes my roommate would go up and we'd have a couple glasses of wine with him and talk about intellectual, topics and sit down. And I felt like I was becoming an adult. Yeah. So I had this dream almost, and this is legit, of the thought of a huge table with 40, 50 people on it, eating like kings and queens, with 40, 50 bottles open and mead and et cetera. And so eventually that became a reality, attending events like La Palais or other trade events or dinners just that we put on ourselves. But it led to Wall Street, working downtown in finance.
Wait. What were you going to school for?
I studied sociology and political science.
Okay.
Nothing too special, but grinded out.
Perfect background for the wine business. Throwing a little journalism.
Paul Greco.
Paul Greco.
Big guy,
Terroir Bar.
big dude.
Friend of the pod.
Terroir Bar. So
he was on the show.
No, I know. That's what we were saying is Jamie used to hang out in New York and drink Riesling. So I just wondered if he ever went to Terroir Bar.
The Summer of Riesling.
Yeah, that wasn't open when I was doing my rounds, but I have been there back.
Well, it is. I mean, it is interesting because you've been out here now over 20 years, and so the whole realm of the bar scene and wine scene in New York is not relevant to when you lived there.
Changed 5 times since then.
Right, that's right.
5 times since COVID.
Yes. Continuing the story, my gosh, I was working on Wall Street. I got a job after college, and in my tiny small apartment in New York City, I made some wine. I made actually 5 gallons from juice concentrate in a glass large water bottle dispenser style.
Wait, was it one of those stores that you go to that's got all the equipment?
Yeah, it was like a hardware store, and in the back you would buy a box, literally
a hardware store.
Of grape concentrate, and it had the directions, and pour it in and hydrate it with 4.5 gallons of water, and add oak powder to it, let it ferment, et cetera, et cetera.
It's kind of like the way you're doing it now, Jamie.
just like it.
Well, I actually produced 2.5 cases. The first commercial release I had, well, it wasn't commercial. Private release was Manhattan Merlot.
Nice.
The second release was Kutch Cabernet, and the family would
Cabernet
mostly
spelled
get
with a K.
Yeah. The family would get 4 or 5 bottles. I'd print a label. Well, then the wine chat boards were around. So I was a trader. I worked for Merrill Lynch, and I'm sitting on a NASDAQ desk with 3 computer screens in front of me and testosterone all around me, yelling and screaming. And and so the traders had interest in wine. So naturally you'd go to wine dinners with clients, and business dinners with clients, and talk about wine and taste wine. Seemed like it was sort of the hobby of everyone on the street. But with those lunchtime periods with the 3 screens, you would take a break, and I would surf the internet. This was in 2001, 2002, 2003.
So is it like Wine Berserkers yet?
It wasn't yet Berserkers. This was pre-Berserkers. This was the Robert Parker chat board.
The Robert Parker chat
back
board.
in the day, that's where everybody congregated. And there was a specific subgroup from the wine group, and it was called Offline. Offline being, hey, let's get together. And you'd put a thing up, hey, in 3 weeks, let's do a tasting of First Growth Bordeaux from 1990. Who's in? And you'd get 8 guys, and you'd go to a restaurant that had corkage, and we would sit around a round table and have 8 blind tastings in the bag, over talk it, overwork it, and so you're basically becoming a compulsive wine lover, geek. But truly, I know zero about the industry. That leads to going to the local stores, talking to the owner. The owner's then, hey, you should go to a trade tasting.
So what were the stores you were going to?
Oh, B Liquors down on Avenue B, like little places. It wasn't like, Sherry, Lehman, or Morel or anything of the likes, just smaller places hunting. But I would pick up, he'd say, take my business card, go, tell them you work with me or for me. They'll let you in. Sneak into the Skurnik tasting or the, et cetera. And
how the things have changed.
Yeah. And, you access to everybody. You had access to all the great winemakers of the world would go in for the portfolio tasting because it was New York. They wanted to get into Gotham. They wanted to get into Tribeca and et cetera, et cetera. So you're meeting the best and talking to the best and then tasting the best. Yeah. So, fortunately or unfortunately, maybe fortunately for anybody who's a buyer of my wines, I have a very compulsive personality and, perfectionist personality from my dad. And so I have been into hobbies all my life, and a treasure trove of hobbies. Everything between, as a child, tap dancing, obviously into the sports, but then, magic. I was into DJing. And when I say magic, a really close and dear friend is David Blaine.
No way.
Yeah, I would do magic constantly with him in New York. We both were counselors at a magic camp on Long Island for kids. And we were basically... in our 20s, but sharing, and this is before his, debut on television and everything, and sharing tricks, and still to the day we keep in touch. I'm like, I have to bottle.
Is he a wine drinker?
He's a wine drinker. He's a buyer of our wines, and I've always said to him, we got to put cards in the bottle in clear glass with a clear spirit like a Chardonnay, and then I'll cork it, encapsulate it, and then that's a loaded prop. So the 8 of hearts is in the bottle.
Yeah.
Is that your card?
Yeah. It's very easy to have somebody select the 8 of hearts, and boom, there it is. So
what kind of, when you said DJing, what kind of music were you into?
I was into hip hop, of course, man.
Yeah,
I was
cool.
going to college in
New
the
York.
Bronx, and you'd
Yeah.
have your friends. I'd have the turntables. Now this was for fun though, but I was better than you'd go to. The local pubs, and the DJ would be up there, and I would slay that guy. But I had no interest in going to the bar or the club and DJing.
Right,
it was
doing it
for
as a
me.
job.
Yeah, it was for
Yeah.
me in my head. I still have some mixtapes. Maybe if you write me privately, and maybe we can get you a copy out there.
But in your head, while you're spinning, you're rocking the crowd, right?
That's right. That's right. Those college years
Get
too.
that up
yeah,
on SoundCloud, SoundCloud rapper.
That's
I
right.
think that maybe there needs to be like more of a comeback of old '90s DJs spinning the hits, because I think that
Danielle, you're reading my mind.
Yes.
If you're listening and
I
you're in
would go to
Atlanta,
that happy hour.
Oh,
Although
man.
you have to start at like 5 because we're old now. So
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
none of this like
the
stuff starts at 10. Like,
Matinee DJ sets
Matinee DJ
for the
set,
40-something parents set.
But what's cool is right now the sun is down at 5, so it is kind
There
of
you
like
go.
nighttime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, the old hits, man. Those records are hard. They were hard to find then, let alone I can only imagine today. The Humpty Dance and
Dance.
oh God, Tribe Called Quest and et cetera, et
Yep.
cetera. But I guess today it's just you press the button and it's it's the recording. Or it's digital, right? I mean,
Yeah,
back I still have the vinyl, and it's not about blending it. You'd be cutting it in.
Yeah.
So, well,
Scratching.
back to the point. Compulsive into wine led to, I'll speed it up, writing an email finally to Michael Brown of Kosta Browne. Hey, man, you're living my dream. I had a bottle of your wine last night. We got together with 10 guys. I said we had a Kanzler. It blew my mind. It was fantastic. Maybe the greatest, one of the greater Pinots I had ever had. And my taste was still, developing, and I was very interested
You said
in Pinot.
Kanzler?
Kanzler Vineyard.
Yeah.
Kanzler
Oh,
Vineyard.
cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
It all comes full circle.
Yeah.
It always
That's
comes
it.
back to Danny Faye somehow.
Yeah. Well, so that was great, and he said, come out. Why don't you come out? I'll help you get started. And I thought, okay, I can come out for harvest maybe and help and see what it's like.
But at this point, you were still fully employed for the
Trading.
For trading.
Yes. Yep. I was still on a trading desk.
And making good money?
20 years ago, $250,000. I thought it was pretty good back then. Jesus.
When you're paying your rent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had
In New York?
savings, savings. I had $100,000 in savings. So even though that seems like a lot of money, it's still just, you were living and having fun. We would take a big trip, me and my girlfriend at the time. So in any event, I said I could come out. I get 2 weeks off a year. They give me 1 week at a time. You can't take them back to back. He said, I think you're misunderstanding. I'm trying to say, you have an opportunity to come out. I'll help you start a wine label. You help us make some wine. We'll work together and start you out. It'd be an incredible opportunity. I thought about this and I said to my wife, what do you think? She was like, I think you're out of your mind, but, maybe sounds like an adventure. She was in PR, public relations. So she worked for HarperCollins and Penguin Putnam. Still does PR to the day, but for herself, that's been a secret weapon for us, which has been killer. But we jumped on, I basically...
So you quit your job?
I quit the job, but I said to them,
maybe back.
Yeah. I said, somebody came up to my desk and said, hey, we're looking for someone out in the San Francisco office. Yeah. Do you know anyone? And I said, I'll take the job. And she goes, oh, I went back to management. We can't hire you because, you work for the client of ours. I said, I'll quit. And then I'll take the interview. She goes, I can't advise you to do that. So I quit my job because I was definitely going no matter what. I interviewed, I got that job. So I finally kind of felt like, the corporate world, I got them back. They paid me $25,000 to move out. Yeah. I had that job, I had that job for 6 months and then bailed. But it helped, get the bills, pay some bills down. But we were living, the first year we went from a nicer place in New York City to a tiny little, I think it was 750 square feet in Manhattan. In San Francisco. And I still live in SF today because I like the energy. It seems crazy.
What neighborhood did you move into when you moved
to San Francisco? I was in Pacific Heights.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, that's been the journey. So I made 6 barrels, my first vintage, 150 cases. But I told the story on the chat board, and that was the key. Robert Parker's chat board. And I had 400 people say they would buy and support the brand before I moved out.
So wait a minute. So that first year that you went out to do your first harvest, you bought grapes and started making wine?
Or partially. Kosta Browne, Michael Brown said, help us make all the wines. At the end of it, we're going to keep it simple. Let's pick out 6 barrels and you can produce your first vintage. So that's how it worked.
Where were they making their wine at the time? Did
that
they
was
have
over
their own
at Deerfield. Yeah.
No shit.
Also, they made some of it at Freeman Cave was some of it because I think Michael maybe helped or consulted with Freeman, or I can't recall exactly. Maybe.
So that first harvest, what was something that...
what vintage was that?
2005.
2005. Huh?
So that first harvest, what was something that you learned or experienced that blew you away, or that you just, that made you take a step back and go, I can't believe I'm doing this, or what the fuck am I thinking?
Yeah. I think
how often did you think that maybe that first year?
Sure. I think, driving up from San Francisco to Sonoma and seeing mountains and seeing water and just the nature was like mind-blowing to me compared to being in a concrete city of steel. Or Long Island, and driving on Long Island where I lived, it's all flat and there's traffic and people driving 95 miles an hour past you. There's an occasional speeder here, but you do 60, 65, there's no one. Maybe once every 2 weeks you'll get somebody that'll pass you at 90. It's just different culturally, the people. I finally, I told my mother not too long after, I was like, you have to come out here. I said, you'll live longer. I said, yes, I'm sad the bagels are not as good. Yeah. Pizza is a little disappointing, and the taxis are really weird. That was pre-Uber. But
Vern's. Shout out Vern's Taxi. Anybody out there?
Right,
Vern's
exactly.
Taxis.
Yeah. But the one that blew my mind was, I used to read Investors Business Daily and the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and Bloomberg Magazine. A picture of me in Bloomberg Magazine and a full feature article about the guy who worked for Merrill Lynch and left his career to go and follow his dream and make wine. That was what really blew me away.
No way.
And that was like, whoa. That was when my boss at the company that hired me to move out to California found out.
Oh, no.
He found out the hard way. And he goes, what is this? My boss is calling asking what this is all about. And so
That's
that
about
was
$65 a bottle is what it's all about.
That was awkward. So, 2005, let's go back, because this is just at when Sideways gets released, right? This is just when wine consumption has surpassed beer consumption, which was probably about 2 years prior, maybe 2003. So wine is rocketing, and Pinot Noir is sort of like the new, the cab of the future, it seems like. I remember within 3 years, I had asked James Lauby at the Wine Spectator, who is the California critic or writer, What
Did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
There you go.
Bart
And
don't like
recently,
him.
and recently.
Yeah, my specific.
No. Wow, talk about that's really going to sound bad over the.
That's all right.
podcast.
I'm sure nobody at Wine Spectator listens, so we'll be okay.
Shit. My question was, do you find that Pinot Noir will ever fully compete at both pricing and structure and respect that Cabernet and California is? And he goes, and absolutely, there's no question. So, that was 2005 when Pinot was not what it was today. It was at a time, also in 2003, 4, 5, when I was still just leaving New York, where it would be very unusual for a man to be in a bar with a wine glass, let alone with a glass of rosé or a glass of a limp-colored.
Right.
Is that a proper color? Limpish. Yeah, limp-colored Pinot.
Right.
Well, and a lot of Pinot,
but yeah, whatever.
at that point, a lot of Pinot was planted in the
Flaccid colored.
wrong place still.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, let's we'll let you take a break from telling the story.
Yeah, there
and
you go,
Let's talk
please.
about this wine. We're all on the Bohan. So, talk about the vineyard and
Sure.
how you came.
I like how you have all the information on the back. I think that's pretty fun.
Yeah. That came about 3-4 years ago, and that was basically a tipping of the hat to Ridge Montebello and the other Ridge wines that have so much information on the back. There's not a tasting note. It doesn't say, eat with grilled fish. It's, barrels produced 8, vineyard planted 2009, vineyard elevation 900 feet, 8 miles from the ocean, clay loam, hand harvested. The exact pick date, 9/26 of 24, etc. So 50% whole cluster.
So do you have to resubmit those because you change the pick date every year, or that stuff doesn't really matter?
I don't think that. No, that
like
doesn't.
to the TTB.
The TTV
No.
doesn't even exist anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
They're on vacation, unpaid, unscheduled.
Those small changes, Danielle, have you been able to not
Get
have
by.
to submit
Yeah.
by?
I
It's
thought.
when you change the look.
Yeah.
Or even just maybe like the appellation or a new vineyard.
Right.
Yeah.
Varietal. You like
so-
add a variety to your blend.
Back to the point, we're on to the 20th anniversary. We put the stamp for the first time, I think, on it. We're pouring we're having a little in the glass of the Bohan right now. The Bohan family has been out in the Pacific area, close to the Pacific Ocean, 3.5 miles from the ridges. This is on the same road as Hirsch. Hirsch is at the end of the road.
Yeah.
On the same road is Markison's estate vineyard. Also is the Martinelli vineyard, the Three Sisters. Across the ridge, visually facing Bohan, is the Flowers Camp Meeting Ridge, and then finally Peter Michael's estate vineyards are there too. So you're in the Rockstar area. This family, the Bohans, the road is called Bohan Dillon is the name of the road. The Bohans have been there since 1872. The Dillons married into the Martinelli family. So George Bohan was the first, his father was the first to plant on the coast, 1972. And those vines were Zinfandel, 1 acre. Those vines got removed about 5 years ago, and George asked what we would like to plant. So we planted some Chardonnay from cuttings that I brought back from Burgundy. That block is called the Salt Point block of Chardonnay.
Wait a minute. How did you get cuttings from Burgundy?
I would go, we went.
Christmas wreath.
Yeah. Jesus.
Very simple.
We went, I went a couple times with, my dearest, closest friend, Raj Parr, and went on a stroll in the evening and just took out the clippers and clipped a little Lefebvre Chevalier, and they made their way into my
If you put it in your dirty
suitcase.
underwear, they're never going to look for it.
Yeah. You wanted to, you put them in, I put it in newspaper, and I would wet it, and then I would leave it outside, and it was in the wintertime. And that kept the buds healthy and alive until, we got back. Propagated it at Alder Springs. He is a rock star, a lover of young, interested, passionate wine lovers. He had it for almost 5 or 6 years, and he said, if you ever want the material, let me know. So we planted it at Bohan. We had an arrangement, with Stuart at Alder, and I said, he said, I'll always reach out to you if anybody ever wants to, but I'll never give it away. I never heard from him. He never said anyone asked for it. He said a lot of people were curious, and I said, I changed that when I took it and propagated it here. I said, you can just freely give it to anybody. So if any winemakers are listening and they want some Lefebvre Chevalier, give Stuart a call, because I think all ships, what do they say, Bart?
All
rising
tides.
Yeah, and it's some great material. It's
call it Alder Springs clone.
Yeah, that's right. Kutch Chardonnay clone.
Brawley clone.
Kutch clone.
Kutch clone.
He's going to be getting. I'm sorry, Stuart. You're probably going to be getting the phone's probably going to be ringing. But
but Jamie, being that it was 1972, I'm just struggling trying to think of like who's planting out there. Were people saying you guys are fucking crazy?
People told George's dad that he was out of his mind planting, and that 1 acre that it wouldn't ripen. They
3 miles from the beach.
They were farmsteading. His dad and his dad's dad were old farmsteaders. There's actually a different block that we make Pinot from. It's called the Graveyard Block, because right outside the 1 acre block is a tombstone, and it says the 18 something. It's hard to read, 1850. But some, a husband and a wife are in the ground, have been buried there, because that's just how it worked. But in the early 1900s, they just were a creamery, and they would put the cream on a schooner and send it down to San Francisco. Down by Stewart's Point, I think, or just neat old history, sitting around with him and seeing pictures and talking. On our website, Kutch Wines, Kutch wines.com. Yeah, there's a...
Your wife would be proud of you.
Yeah, there you go. There is a Bohan link, and every single vineyard that I designate, I really spend a long time doing the research on. So there's all of the history of the Bohans, and there's history on Trout Gulch and McDougall and Falstaff Vineyard and on, and that's I stated earlier, it's compulsive, and I think from morning to night about wine. It's slowing down, man. I'm 51, and it's been 20 years, and it changes. Now, I guess I don't want to jump too fast, but now we have our own estate vineyard. We only bought that 5 years ago.
Where is that?
That's in Sebastopol. So we had an opportunity during COVID. I had been looking for 6, 8, 10 years, and found a piece of land, 12 acres in Sebastopol.
Full of apples.
Right. And
tell the story.
That's right. Yep. It was about 10 acres of apples on it, an old apple orchard. I'd been told that Luther Burbank, has been on the property, and just because of a neighboring property, and
this is when they were marching in front of your property because you were cutting down trees, right?
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's another story. But yeah, Regal, one of the there's a park called Regal Park.
Yeah, Regal Ranch.
Regal Ranch. The Regal family, the Regal son had owned our land at one point. So cool old history. Well, so we bought the 12 acres, and we cut down 6.5 acres of apple trees. I had been quoted $40,000 for a management company to come in and cut down trees. I said, how hard could it be to cut down apple trees? So me and my stepdad, who's out here, my mom did move out. We got 2 chainsaws, and we started to get to work, and we cut down all the trees. I rented a 20,000 pound, 10-ton excavator. Never been on one in my life. And that is big. That's as big as a small house. And within 3 days, it was like playing a video game. I played a lot of Atari as a kid and Coleco. I had them all. And so I'm pulling these things out of the ground and putting it in the back of our Kubota 4-wheeler, and Roger then is dumping them in a huge pile that eventually got burned. And so
do you have to ask anyone at the city to do that, or it's your land, you can do whatever you want?
You get a permit to change crops.
Okay.
I think I can't remember.
Because you weren't the only one doing that. That has been happening over the last 30 years in Sebastopol consistently.
That's right. We left 1.5 acres of apples in. But I did, as Bart was alluding to before, post on Instagram that I was like, I put a put the Kubota, I put the 2 chainsaws, I put a fell tree in the background. I said, and there was 2 beers on the Kubota. I was like, lots of hard work. I said, we're busting our butts here and exciting to come. And boy, the Apple police came out. Yeah. Ooh. They wasn't nice, and I was like, they don't know anything about me, or what I've done for the land is I could diatribe for a half an hour.
No, you should talk about it, because first of all, you should follow Jamie's feed on Instagram, because just the beauty shots of the gardens and all the work that you've done out there, and how you've been farming it organically the way you have, you deserve the recognition for doing it right.
Yeah, thanks, Bart. I
I'm
appreciate
sure
it.
you're surrounded by dead soil under vines around you.
Right,
so.
That's right. Yeah, the Instagram's Jamie Kutch, Jamie Kutch, another plug. But more importantly, we're all about plugging. Jamie. Yeah, there you go. We have native bee boxes on the property. We have 3 of them. They cut down when a redwood has fell. That's correct terminology, right? It's fell because it hasn't fallen. When it's fell, cut a huge piece. Maybe that's 4 feet long, and hollow out the inside. Put 2 holes in, cover up both the top and the bottom, and then tie it up to a tree 15, 20 feet up in the air, and let native bees find it.
Super cool.
Yeah, historically, bees lived in dead trees. That's their native habitat in the forest. There are problems or challenges with raising bees, much like you'd raise cattle, and in tight quarters, and with boxes made of glue, and smoking them, and using sugar for them, and getting sickness, and etc. Native bees are amazing. So we found the one guy in the United States that does this, and we bought 3 of those and hung 2 in trees and put 1 on the ground, and it's rewarding. Pollinator gardens, we've got everything from
lavender. What do you?
Yeah, all that. I was even thinking about the natural animals, or the things that we've gotten from it, frogs and weasels. We have we have gophers, which are a nightmare, but
they're native.
Yeah, we have a badger. Now, that is the most badass thing to have in a vineyard. I have a vineyard manager / consultant. His name is James King. He's incredible. He has 2 clients, myself and Dumal, Andy Smith. And he said, I've farmed a lot of properties, and I've never had a property with a badger. He says, you're so lucky.
I've never heard of badger in Sonoma County.
Yeah, maybe because it's close to Regal Park, but you don't want, I've never seen him. But he makes a huge diameter hole, right, and he's hunting, the gophers. And that's a saving grace, because in sandy soil, gophers can wreak havoc on a new vineyard when the vines are so young. So,
we've
quite
had
frankly,
this
you don't want to
conversation
see a
before.
badger.
No, but I want to see a badger on a game cam.
Yeah.
I want to see one chasing gophers.
Yeah, that's supposed to be almost like a bear. And I think they're more, nocturnal or coming out at night, and so in any event, the soils, we're, developing a vineyard. There's a lot of grasses and a lot of weeds, because you've stirred up the soils, you've ripped it, you've planted, and all of a sudden all those ancient seeds want to push. So under the vine, there's, it's funny. There's no Roundup. You're talking about going it through with shovels and shoveling all those, and it's a fortune. You send them through 3-4 times in a season, and it's a lot. It's almost pennies to just have it synthetic, or anything, and it kill the weeds. You don't want the competition. Interesting, exciting things for the future. I know I've listened to the podcast before, and I've heard Bedrock talk about Morgan talking about crimping the grasses down, keeping soil moisture in, keeping the soils cooler. We have a crimper. We use it in the apple orchard and around the vines. I'm sorry, not around the vines. Around the block of the vineyard where equipment is going. We're not yet able to go up and down the rows and crimp grasses yet, because your first 4 or 5 years of trying to get the vines started, you can't have competition. So we're still working the soils. Now you can work the soils with a disc, which is on the more aggressive side, or a spader. We use a spader to spade the soils, aerate, as well as bring down weeds. We cut too. We'll cut the grass, but we have we'll plant cover crop. We just planted, and this year is the first year we'll leave some permanent cover crop. We planted dwarf barley in half of the property, and we'll do every other row. So, but one of the coolest things that we have is about the size of this. This is a full table. What would you say? This is a 16-foot
picnic table.
8-foot table.
8 foot. Yeah. Maybe it's more. Maybe we have a 12-foot bin this size for raising worms, vermicompost.
Ooh, fun.
Oh man, 500,000 worms in a bin that big. Eating table scraps, spent coffee grinds, and
does anyone live
salad.
on the property, or this is just?
We renovated the house, and we will move there in 3 more years. Our son goes to a nice, pretty good school in San Francisco, and more importantly, not besides this, that it's good, he's got good friends. So when he graduates 8th grade, then we'll move up. Okay. So back to the story. The worms are, everybody listening knows cows. The excrement, the poop, is very valuable. It helps, life. It's
compost
growth,
happens.
right? Compost is amazing. Imagine it, exponentially higher with a worm's poop.
Yeah, worm farms are really cool.
Yeah. So the worms keep pooping. You have vermicompost, and it keeps the soil keeps more and more in it. And the very bottom of the bin, or this size of this table, there's a blade, and there's a winch on each side. And you winch it, and you cut about an inch and a half of soil every couple of weeks. So you have inch and a half of vermicompost. Now, you're thinking to yourself, you have a 6.5 acre vineyard. Yeah. What good is that? Well, let me go a touch further. In 1 tablespoon, the amount of microbes are in the hundreds of millions. If you take that and then you put it into a compost tea maker, it goes into the billions. In a tablespoon, more than all the life on the planet. So you bubble it for 24 hours, you take it into a 5-gallon bucket, you pour it into your compost tea maker, and you bubble it, and then you can inject and drip it into your vineyard. And then you have a vine or a vineyard that's really strong. And then the bugs and the bad guys don't want to eat my fruit or my leaves. They go next door. And they eat the neighbors, So you've really strengthened, or you've made a healthy, and then the soils are alive. And then you're not disrupting the soils at a point and tilling and keeping that, you've seen, I'm sure everybody knows about the, mushrooms, how the mushrooms make all these channels, as well as trees. They talk to each other. They have all those connections, and you don't want to disrupt that. Mm-hmm. You can tell my how would you state it? Inability to sound insanely intellectual. Like I'm not, in school, I didn't have a 4.0, but when I get interested in something, I learn a lot and read a lot and try things and then see what works. And we had a very old, tiny redwood tree that a neighbor gave us. He was leaving town in San Francisco. I had a worm bin the size of, 2 feet by a foot in San Francisco in our garage that I was feeding the worms. And I watched, making to some tea and watering that plant. And I watched neon green tips come out within 48 hours. And I was like, holy cow. So those are the microbes working. And that was like, this works. I get this. And then listening to the podcast. So very popular in food, in raising of crops and food. Not as much in wine, but I know there's other people, doing it or looking at it, and you probably would know better than me because you guys talk to a lot of.
There was a guy who was set up out at the old Leveroni Dairy for a few years, making, raising worms and making worm compost, vermiculture, on a really large scale. Right. And I think he sold that business to somebody and moved out of town.
Right.
But it definitely is happening, and compost. Even the cow manure compost is hard to come by these days. It's definitely become a hot commodity. So we were using some of that. You find good dirt wherever you can.
For sure, there's no question. Yeah, I think it was maybe a Wilson Daniels brother or somebody related to the Daniels family had something here locally. And when we worked with a farming company to plant, they did buy a huge bag of vermicompost, and they were putting in a scoop into each hole. But maybe just different when you're thinking, we should be doing this here. It's so fresh, and the compost tea, when you make the compost tea, you want to use it within hours. Once it starts the sun starts hitting it, the microbes start dying. So I don't know. We're excited.
Did you ever hear about, what was that thing that Enterprise Vineyards bought that made the water go around in infinity symbols to emulate?
It was
the
biodynamic mixer.
Yeah. Have you heard about that, Jamie?
Is it ion? What do they call it?
I have read or heard about that too. Yeah, I think there's techniques where you want to go counterclockwise and mix it for so long.
It's to emulate the flow of an actual creek.
So you bring it to a vortex, and then you disrupt it and put it into chaos, and then you build it back up again.
Yeah,
and the diatomizer, bringing in energy.
So this one, it would do the vortex, and then it would go to the other side, and it would force it in the other direction, and then go. It was sort of like a cascade of.
But there was also the fountains. Benzigers have one, a free flow fountain, where it does that, and those are amongst the biodynamic people. Those are essential.
I just remember Dan showing it to me when you guys bought it because he was at Enterprise.
Up at the barn.
Yeah. And I was like, this is super. He was into it.
He was super.
We're all into it.
That's how we grew those big pumpkins that year. It was always they were making the compost tea.
Yeah.
And the overflow of the compost tea was going down the slope to where the pumpkins were.
and the pumpkins
were just soaking it up. And we had 500-pound pumpkins out of that.
Wow.
Move them with the tractor kind of thing.
I think that is one of the techniques to make a monster pumpkin.
Totally is you get one per plant, and then you feed the fuck out of it.
That and getting seeds from Mike Wallace or.
Right.
Well, what kind of soils are on that? Is it Goldridge?
Yeah, it is Goldridge. Yeah. Yes, that whole neighbor, Sebastopol, I would say the very large majority.
That's why he can use the spader.
Yeah, that's right.
But also, gophers must just love it because they just tunnel in that stuff, right?
Man, yep.
So how do you? I mean, we've had these conversations on the show before, and normally it goes south real quick. But how do you
propane?
How do you mitigate some of your gopher?
Well,
issues?
that was the point of that badger.
Right.
We didn't have to. We do have traps, and we set traps too. The kind that just snap and they go through it. But we hadn't had as much pressure this year, because of this badger, which is amazing.
You got to get the badger a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then they can raise a whole little family
just don't
of
put it on your wine
badgers.
label.
You know what else we did when we...
I was going to say there is a badger in Sonoma, actually.
Not anymore.
Well, it's there still. It's just not on the label.
When we did start to set up the property, and after we took down the trees, the apple trees, we did put gopher wire all around the block that we were going to plant, and then we worked hard to try to eradicate and kill as many as we could too. I had a different grower had told me he did that, and that had worked really well, so we tried it.
So you're not making wine from that vineyard yet? Then?
Not yet. Next year will be our first crop.
How exciting!
Yeah,
and tell us what you ended up planting it to.
So we planted to Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. A lot of the plant material came again, from Andy Smith at Dumal. There's two people I call when I have a question that I'm really stumped on, or that I put at a high tier for myself, is Andy as well as then Ted Lemon. So I called both of them and had conversations pre-buying the property, and
No one digging Ted Lemon?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Shit, Literai.
yeah, baby.
What?
Yeah, the best. Yeah. So, and his vineyard is one of the closest vineyards to our property. So he's almost a neighbor. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So today, right now, we make 5 or 6 different Pinots, maybe 3 different Chardonnays. So
talk about where the second wine is from.
Yeah, the second one
Mindigo Ridge.
Mindigo Ridge. Mindigo Ridge is in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and Dave and Stacy, very close to Alpine Road, in the hills or the ridges of upper ridges of the Santa Cruz, and I brought 2 wines that are drinking well from 24. We have others where we go up into the portfolio and we go higher, and they're darker, denser, deeper, richer, not heavier, but these both are more of the maybe elegant style, or maybe dare drink it with fish.
And is your sorry, Bart?
No, go
is
ahead.
your attitude let the kind of vineyard speak, and that's the style of wine you make?
No
or do you
question.
Kind of,
Yes, I back I think in 2012 was one of the last vintages where I tried to force my hand at the wine. Today, Bart will attest to it. Nobody can be more honest than Bart, because he watches me every day making the wines. But the grapes come in, it's I don't think I've ever sulfured anything, at the press. And even if we see tiny traces of botrytis or rot, and they go into tank, we usually turn the heater up almost immediately, just trying to get it warm. That doesn't mean rip it. That means just 70 degrees to just give it some warmth. I'm up to the point where I'm making 50% whole cluster wines. So destemmed fruit on the bottom, whole cluster on the top. I don't want the stems sitting in juice and extracting tannin or bitterness from the stem. So that's really why I want just berries, and why I want that padding in the bottom, because that's where the juice is, right? Then finally they start to ferment naturally or natively, no yeast. Then they get punched in 1-ton tanks twice, 3 times tops, usually sometimes even once if the fruit's really tiny berries. So
wait,
it's not
1
times
punch down for
total.
the entire fermentation.
Whole fermentation. Yeah. Just not trying to pull off, not trying to get deep, dark extraction.
And then more pour overs there.
Yeah, some punch downs. Pump over in the beginning. Try to incorporate all the cut flavors.
But then it gets to a pour over.
Yeah, pour over with a bucket. Sometimes 4 or 5 blue buckets can come out, and filling them up and then pouring them over on the top. Just delicate. That's the key. Is fermentation temperatures never above 84. Stop the heaters not to get above that. And
now, was this stuff that you learned from working at Kosta Browne, or was this stuff that you kind of figured out over the last?
Totally figured out on my own, just my own flavor, my own taste, and my own what I like. I kept learning or finding that less was nicer or better for me. There's no new oak on any of the wines, any of the Pinot, 0. So every barrel is, let's call it on average 3, 4, 5 years old.
Where you get them from? Dumal?
I don't want to say where.
Okay.
Winemakers are tricky with that one.
He's got a good source. We'll
and
leave it
Bart
at that.
knows.
All
Don't
right.
say Bart.
No. They're beautiful barrels.
Yeah.
Cool.
I try to buy also Chardonnay barrels with lower chances of having microbial issues or Brettanomyces, etc. And I change them out kind
Buy
of.
the Chardonnay barrels to put the red wine into?
That's correct. Yeah, cleaner, So, let's say, again, the technicals are 50% whole cluster, no new oak. They do spend 12 months in barrel. I have done 16, 18 months in barrel aging, and I find that sometimes the wine dries out a little bit. Once I was in a taxi with Alan Meadows, Berghound, going from one thing in San Francisco to another. We happened to share the car, the ride. And one neat little thing he told me was that Madame Leroy, whose wines sell for many thousands,
Sorry, we were faster on that one than Ted Lemon.
Yeah, Lalubis.
My bad.
Yeah, she waits for mallow to finish and then 9 months later bottles. So malolactic will finish, and sometimes mallow will finish during the harvest. She'll sulfur immediately, and then 9 months later. So it's crazy. You could think if she's picking in September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, she could be bottling in June or July, with $3,000 bottles of wine.
A great business plan.
Chateau cash flow.
Right. Jesus. Well, but now the flip side
Domain
is
cash flow, my bad.
Yeah. The flip is that if it's a very slow year for mallow, and mallows are taking a very long time, maybe the cellar is cold and they're sluggish, that then she would maybe carry over. My malolactics are usually done by November, by now. Which half of them are finished right now for my 25s. So we're starting to sulfur. So that would put us on the path of bottling in August, right before the harvest. And still get nice fruit and freshness. Freshness is purity. These are the words I like. Crunchy. I tasted yesterday at our property, the head buyer for in Sweden, the whole government. And, the one of the wines, the first wine she tasted, it's so crunchy. And I love that word, to hear that, Yeah.
Where do most of your wines go? You're only making 3,000 cases.
Good one. Yeah. So we have a strong mailing list. I don't really say that we're at a cult level where it's like sine qua non, where it's, it's going in a second, but it's very good and very strong. And, we have some customers that have bought since the first vintage, which is really feels good and rewarding.
Was that boss from back in the day, Merrill Lynch, ever buy any wine still? Or no? They still feel a little sour about that. A little salty.
No, shit. Yeah. So of the 3,000 cases, we sell about 1,000 direct. We just do 2 offerings a year. One in the spring, one in the fall because of the shipping. So let's say 500 and 500. And with the balance at 2,000, it's always gone overseas. I have distribution in one state of the United States, and that's in New York. Yeah. So I would sometimes fill a container, 800 cases, and it would go to Sweden. 500 cases would go to Norway. We would send 500-600 cases to London, to the UK.
And why do you do
Germany,
that?
Austria. I worked on Wall Street, and I thought to myself about competition, and a table has 4 legs, right? So, I have the one leg is really strong with the direct customer. The competition is so fierce in U.S. distribution, with all of the California Pinot Noir brands, all the Napa brands. It was so much work to try to sell one pallet of wine to Chicago for 56 cases. And then you'd get, we need tasting credits. We need 3% to go out and sample restaurants. The salespeople need these samples. And then can you come and work the market? Can you spend 2 days or 3 days in our market to try to help the salespeople sell it? And I'm like, this is insane. I'm selling 500, 600, 700 cases to countries with no discounts, no corkage, I don't have to go there, but maybe once every couple, 3-4 years. And that's like a pleasure to go to Germany or somewhere else.
How did you figure that out?
Okay. Oof. So let's put it back to 2005. I came from a big salary. I left my job the Wall Street job in San Francisco, and I took a job because I was making my wine at Deerfield. He said to me, Robert Rex, would you like to stay on, watch after your wines, and help watch our wines, top barrels, help for bottlings? I'll give you $50,000. I said, done. Great. So now I was an employee of Deerfield. So now I'm making 50. I have 100,000 in savings. My wife is trying to hustle and open a brand new PR business. And, you're worried. Even when my wine does sell, the first 150 cases, it's not that much money. So I am creatively seeking other opportunities. And that was at a point where Asia started to get really interested in Bordeaux, where there became a real desire also for Screaming Eagle. And I started to buy and sell and trade fine wine. And it's a gray area for people. So some people might roll their eyes and be like, a flipper, But it helped establish money and also an ability to purchase tanks, and anything that came in either got us through and helped build or bring whatever this is that we have now. But that was, hey, I know the distributor that sells Screaming Eagle and XYZ, you want 25 cases of it, and sure, and I was buying and trading wine, and it would be a full pallet of Bordeaux, worth $500,000, and
Did you peel a couple off for yourself?
Okay. Once in a while we taste it. Sure. Yeah. I'm not, I love to try to find a great value wine. Yeah. Maybe a Morgon or a Beaujolais or something, not the snooty stuff. But yeah, we got lucky, and sometimes a bottle would make its way and the cork would open.
But did you also buy some of those wines and then not flip them immediately, but sit on them for a couple of years?
Some of it, yes. I had a belief. I really love the wines of Mounier-Gibourg in Burgundy. At some point, I was like, I will never sell these, and just kind of kept buying and buying. And used to buy Clos Vougeot for, $300, and when it went to $1,000 and then $1,500, it's hard to think like, I really need to plant a vineyard, and I need 6 figures or multiple 6 figures, and it's like time to then move that out. I drank a ton, though. I think I alluded to earlier, one of my best friends was Raj Parr. He would say, hey, we just opened a 1971 Romany Saint Vivant. You should come down for a glass. And I would jump in the car. It would take me 5-6 minutes, and I'd be at RN 74, and we would be drinking 71 Romany Saint Vivant.
Right. Yeah. How did you guys meet?
Yeah, just from there. I think I brought in, and we bought a bottle, and then we bought a bottle off the list. They had just opened, and we brought in a bottle of champagne. And I remember it was young. It was a new release, and Raj looked at it. He's like, sure, I'll get this ready for you. Pulls the cork, puts glasses down, pours the bottle into a decanter. And I thought to myself, what is this guy doing? He doesn't even ask. And I was like, what made you decant it? He's like, I've had this wine about 5-6 times. He goes, it'll drink way better than, if it's out of the bottle. And he was right. It sang, and it chilled out the bubbles. And so I was enamored, I was looking at him.
Put the champagne you brought in
into a decanter.
Right. That is a bold fucking move.
I've seen people do that, but they chill the decanter even. So so then it keeps the wine cold as you're pouring it.
Let's give Raj Parr the benefit of the doubt that he put it into a chilled decanter.
Yeah.
It's probably not something that he wouldn't have done with somebody else's champagne.
Yeah. So we just became buddies. I think that, our beliefs in wine were a lot the same. He also loved Burgundy, and we just would geek out. And that was a point where it was very early for me. I overthought wine so much. I would post on the chat board.
Weird. It doesn't seem like you do that.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah.
So when you were running around in San Francisco with Raj Parr, was that the same time as the Rudy guy from Sour Grapes?
He was around.
I bet you knew him.
I did know him. I took a trip down to L.A. and did a dinner, and of course, I think his bottle was corked, which is no surprise. He was notorious for having a big, great magnum of something, and it would have be corked. We can't drink this, and very
corked wine could be anything.
Yeah, that's right. Very suspicious, and but
so he would be like, "Oh, I brought this amazing Magnum for you guys to try. Bummer, it's corked.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
But I have 3 more back at home if you want to buy them.
Yeah, totally.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Jamie,
funny.
you were part of In Pursuit of Balance, also, right?
That's right.
I was
yes.
just going to ask
yeah.
that.
And
that's about that same time.
What year was that? Yeah, it was about that same time.
I can't remember. Maybe about 2000, and maybe that was 10, 9, 8. Yeah.
Was it
10.
before
It was when I
Sandy?
moved out here. Katie did a panel for them in 2013.
Okay. Then that's where we're out. Yeah. So let's go up
before or like right around that time.
Yeah, that Raj was because at first wasn't he consulting on wines and then he started his own brand?
He's done it all. You name it, he's done it. Yes, but I think that was an incredible opportunity again to bring our the message that they had crafted, him and Jasmine, and create it, push it globally. We went to London, and it helped again in the context of the global stage to try, to keep on getting the wines. Today, I went to London twice this year already to go visit, and I had dinner with Jancis Robinson twice. Once on Easter dinner.
Wow.
So that in of itself is like a pinch me moment.
What'd you guys eat?
Oh, at her son's steakhouse. Yeah, okay. I think great.
More
restaurant.
importantly, what did you drink?
I let her pick. I'm not going to. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I'll bring a
Madam
story.
MW, can I pick the wine tonight? No, sir, you cannot.
Bring the story back to that original post on the Robert Parker chat board. I don't think I said about it. I'm going out to California to follow my dream. And Michael Brown has given me the opportunity. And within, I think I said I had 400 people that said they'd buy the wine, but maybe the 10th to 12th person that said congratulations, good luck, was Antonio Goloni. That was when Antonio wrote his Burgundy report, Barolo, Italy report, right? Where he wasn't yet a part of the Parker and everything else, and
he was still like a business school student or something at the time, right?
So, but that you had eyeballs and people knew and read, and the industry is awesome. Now, Wall Street, last touch on this. One of the best or strongest traders of the firm went and opened his own hedge fund, and everyone wanted to see him fail. They all were rooting for him to lose money to close up shop, and that's sad. I don't see that competition, that type style in wine, so
right.
That's a game changer.
Yeah.
That segment brought to you by Enterprise Vineyards and Ford Motor Credit, the diesel trucks.
I'm sure that came through just fine. Okay. For all you haters out there.
We have no haters.
Jamie doesn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I was trying not to pay attention to that truck, but I...
You did very well.
Yeah.
You did very well.
You guys seem to be...
Well, it's when the two guys sitting in the truck and they saw you podcasting as they drove in and out a minute ago, and then they're parked right in front of the tent. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Marcos and Mike.
Right.
There'll be something special in your check this week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The holiday bonus bottles that you get from Enterprise will be from Rudy's cellar.
Oh boy. Yeah. Great.
So Jamie, what are you? I mean, with all the doom and gloom, what sort of optimism do you have?
Yeah, it's a good question. I have a belief. I am of the belief that we're going to overshoot. We're going to overshoot to the downside. I think that, and the overshoot to the downside is, we're seeing the bottom, or we're at the bottom right now. And even though you haven't seen any statistics that show that you're at the bottom, this harvest, this 25 harvest, you heard story after story after story about people. Oh, I cut back 20, 30, 40% in production. Oh, this vineyard didn't get harvested. And so now you just need to clear out, the inventory and the bulk, and then find where the new demand is versus the supply. So we had an oversupply, right? And then the demand was down. So if we've overshot it and the demand is, at X and we've overshot Y, then, we should be finding it. And it'll, hey, listen, I think it's good.
We're sometimes one light crop away from it really turning around quickly.
Right.
I mean, and we've had 21, 22 would have been big except for the heat. 23 was a big crop. 24 was a big crop. 25 was a big crop.
Right.
Cyclically,
right?
In put money on next year being light, right?
Right. A chartist, somebody who looks at charts on Wall Street would see a steady growth, a steady incline. incline, right? Traveling upward on the chart. I don't know what axis that is. Let's forget that. But then you have challenges where maybe you have, who knows what, a harvest where the crop gets wrecked. And we had COVID that was the wrecker. It made the chart go straight up vertical. And everyone thought, there was this huge demand there, which there was. But now the coverage got packed. And now we have to come back down to that. What do they call it? Maybe like a trowel line, I think they might call it. So overshoot. Now we're
all nodding like, yeah, totally. This is stuff that we talk about and know all the time, right, Bart?
Yeah. Right. So we should overshoot it to the downside, right? And then we'll come back to the trowel line. But I think, unfortunately, the trowel line was starting to decrease. You guys probably know more about this than me, but
we talk about this a lot, or at least I do with guests that come in, and people always have their reasons why they think the consumption was in decline, and it was always like, weed and beer and all this kind of other crap. But the more I've thought about it, I think that the pandemic sort of had two effects. Originally, people were buying a bunch of wine, getting sent to their house, but now I think people stay home more often. Right. And they order DoorDash, and they get everything sent to their house. And wine, to me, is a social thing.
Yep.
And I don't feel like people are out as much.
Agreed.
Where we used to see consumption, where people would go out and go to parties or go to dinner and drink wine.
Right.
And everyone's kind of on their Netflix at home.
Well, and also let's talk about the consumption, quote unquote, consumption number, because a lot of people bought a lot of wine in those COVID years.
Yeah.
And just because it was purchased, so then it looks on the balance sheet or whatever, there's probably a better trader word for it, of that wine is consumed.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer in, the hands of the business that owned it. But there's a lot you sit at home and you go
there's no depletions.
Right. There's been depletions, but there has not been consumption of those bottles. Right. So people are sitting at home and they're not buying new wine. And we get this from, wine club members all the time who say, hey, I got to pause this one. I'm stacked.
I don't have space.
I don't have space.
And that, to me, is an economic thing as well. That
right.
People aren't living in a house.
They're in Jamie's old 750 square foot San Francisco apartment, and there's not a lot of storage room.
Right. I think, people probably want to collect more wine.
Yeah.
But where are you going to put it all?
I think it's all of it,
Totally.
So everyone, you've had a lot of guests on and everyone has an opinion. I mean, they talk about, what about...
And they're all right.
Yeah, right, there you go. Ozempic, is Ozempic, right, the drug? I'm sure people have talked about that. But, you right now, an interesting trend again is Wendy's, the stock is getting destroyed for the last 12 months. And that is... because people don't even have the disposable income to go out to Wendy's.
Right. McDonald's is making cheaper value meals.
Right.
The wraps.
Yeah.
They're making the wraps to keep up with people's wallets.
I'm telling you, if I had to start a business today, it would be a ghost kitchen where I was in a warehouse somewhere and I would have 3 different restaurant menus, one Asian, one pizza, and one something else.
Yeah.
Where all you did, because anywhere you go, like I go to Chipotle, I'm waiting for someone to talk to me because they're making 3 orders for a driver that's showing up. And I'm like, I'm here.
Right.
But it's gotten even that way at retail stores. I mean, you're like, where is everyone?
I was talking to, I have a woman who started in the beginning of this year, and I was telling her today, I want to start another business myself. I want to get the mini school bus and then drive around and pick up dogs. Have you seen the Instagram?
No.
Oh my gosh. So it's doggy daycare. You get the bus, you drive around, you honk the horn, the dog comes running out, gets on your school bus, you bring them to your dog park, let them run around and have a blast, give them treats, spoil them, and then bring them home. It's like, it's camp day for the dogs.
That is one thing that people will spend money on.
Absolutely, no doubt. I'm being facetious about really starting this,
just yesterday there was a guy down.
Dog wine.
I'm sure.
Just yesterday down on 8th Street East, there was
Please don't give your dog
some
wine.
guy walking down what was the old railroad tracks, and he had 12 dogs on leashes.
Oh wow!
Right in front of, just right across the street from Bedrock.
You could live here in Sonoma And we know a couple people that house sit for people that go on vacation, and you could actually about half the year never step foot in your own apartment and just take care of dogs and cats and house sit for people here in Sonoma.
Yeah, let me put a plug in for Melissa, who works with me, though. We had an awesome harvest. She has a degree from Davis. Melissa is an incredible farmer, and, she used to work for Full Belly Farm.
Oh, nice.
And, just different ideas. It's really has been fun to run ideas off of each other. And, she's sitting on the tractor or helping make the wines, and it's been a blast working and having somebody on the team.
So when is she releasing her label?
She actually made a tiny bit of Syrah just for herself, for her family and herself this year. So she's got a little bit.
So next year.
Yeah, who knows when she's going to go commercial. But yeah, she worked with Steve Mathiasen, and she did a harvest down with Raj Parr down in Cambria.
Felon Farm, is that what that is?
Felon Farm, right? Yeah, and then for a blip, she was with Scribe maybe for about a year. So I'm fortunate to have her on the team.
Yeah, that's great. Well, the wines are friggin' fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks very much.
I'm really excited for your first vintage of your estate because
what do you call the estate?
I don't have a name, or I don't know if I'll name it. It might be just
you have to put something on
maybe
the
Kutch Vineyard or
okay.
I don't know. I've waited 4 years for it to come, and nothing has come yet. come to mind.
Well, for someone who before you were even a farmer had worms in his San Francisco apartment, I mean, I think that this is going to be some good grapes.
Yeah, thank you.
Vermicutch, just vineyards.
Yeah, there you go.
Jamie, to just one more little plug, you mentioned the brandy, but the brandy has expanded now, and I guess it's a few years from being released, but why don't you tease that out?
Oh, man, Bart, you're the best. Yeah.
California brandy.
So because of having an acre and a half of apples, we have harvested those apples a few times and then pressed them and made cider and then distilled it. So we have some apple brandy to come. Yeah. So, the oak regiment of after you get the spirit, it's going into used Chardonnay barrels, and those barrels are used for 4 or 5 years, again, to not impact that big. I've had enough spirits where it's brand new oak and you get such a dark color and such a smell of wood that I didn't prefer that. So we'll see where that goes, but so far so good. It tastes good. Although I think it's 130 proof right now. Before you bottle it, you bring that proof down slowly with water, distilled water down to about 90 is where we'll bottle it at. So. Yeah, creative.
There was a producer in the North Fork, Long Island. Why am I forgetting their name right now? They had a restaurant in Manhattan forever, called like Home, I think. Okay. And they went out there and they were doing the same thing where they were like gleaning apples from the old apple orchards of the North Fork.
Nice.
And then doing an apple brandy and they sold and moved like up off grid somewhere in Maine. And whoever stopped making the brandy, but I went back there and bought like every last bottle and have 7 or 8 of them left still in the cellar.
Great,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's medicinal.
Yeah. Right. Nice.
When my wife has a cold, she put
I do the same.
In every cup of
totally
tea.
helps your throat. Yeah. This year we did different. I had fermented a little bit of grapes in open barrels. I took the head off of a barrel and 2 of them. And so once harvest was starting to wind down, we went out to the property in Sebastopol, and we did not do the brandy this year. I didn't pick them all, but we had a lot of apples, so we took and we filled up a barrel with the head off. We cut the apples with an apple cutter into 8 pieces and filled up the barrel. We're making vinegar. So cool. Dangerous to be involved with vinegar and being in the wine industry, but that stays at our barn and that stays away from everything else. But I don't know yet how that'll be. It's still fermenting out, but that's promising. And if it works, this little trial of the 1 barrel, we could make a ton of that and bottle it in 750.
Kutch ACV.
Yeah, something different. I'm always thinking about something exciting, different, creative.
Fermenting is addictive.
That's right.
What do you like to eat in Sebastopol?
Ooh, Sequoia Burger is probably the best, like, unhealthy place.
Fuck yeah.
Didn't expect that one.
Good hamburger.
He doesn't live out there, so he's only out there during the day.
That is a
That's
roadside on the curve. You go in there. Sometimes I think the employees could really give a shit if you're there or not.
Yes, I agree.
You kind of get treated. Maybe you like it. You're a New York guy. Maybe you like a little
cleaned the grill
abrasiveness.
once in the last 35 years.
Where in San Francisco do you like to eat?
Oh, I like Rich Table a lot and The Progress. Those are two restaurants that I like. Zuni Cafe would be, maybe a last meal. Nopa. Our wines are at Nopa right now by the glass. Wine sales have slowed, so we pivoted for glass pours. We're at Nopa. We're at Solage in Napa by the glass. Cavallo Point by the glass. We just sold a slug to Quince in San Francisco, and so we've
nice places.
Yeah,
they're not bad.
Yeah,
we should.
I've heard of
them.
Yeah. Now
one big ding, right?
There you go.
What about this? Have you found a good bagel yet?
There actually is just one in San Francisco, and it's called The Laundromat. It's out in the Richmond district, and it is phenomenal. I mean, really good. So that would be the one.
One on the West Coast. All right. So can people get your wine if they aren't a member?
Absolutely, for sure. Okay. Yep. You don't have to be a member. I just asked the web developer, and I built the website, but now there's the back end aspect of it. We have asked to make like a cart, so somebody could go right now and buy 1 bottle, 2 bottles, 3 bottles. But you still can just join the mailing list, and you automatically get a link, and you can then go in and buy a bottle or anything right now. So yeah,
cool.
Right on. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
Finally,
Thank you, Jamie.
Amen.
I didn't even see the last. I don't remember if I've even seen Jamie the last 5 times that I've been to your.
Well, now that you don't have
14 times.
Yeah, now that you don't have an interest in worrying about your own wine, you just don't come down that often anymore.
Sam keeps me a little busy.
Yeah.
It's definitely not my fault.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So shout out again, Jamie, how to get a hold of your wines.
Yeah, right on. Thanks, Bart. Kutch, Kutch, KutchWines.com. And I think there's like join the mailing list or buy wines, or, you just kind of have to put in your email, and then I will circle and say hello and connect. Yeah, the cork has my cell phone number on it, so if anybody ever has any problems, that's
for real?
It did, not now.
Okay.
But I did at a point, and even on the back of the label, it had our cell phone. We have one phone. It's
the rapper from New Orleans who put his phone number and everything,
Oh.
and it still is like Mike Jones.
Yeah, I forget. I just saw an old documentary.
Still
recently.
has that number, and somebody still responds to that number, like sending text messages and stuff. It's probably Red Chirp, but
cool.
All right, so look forward to Jamie spinning at his next party, doing
Sequoia
a little
Burger.
90s. Sequoia Burger.
Winemaker dinner.
That's it.
Winemaker DJ at Sequoia Burger. I'm going
for the release of the estate wine.
Yes, awesome. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity.
You're very welcome,
It was
Jamie.
fun.
Thank you.
All right, cheers to you.
Anything you guys want to talk about? I guess if anyone's going to be in Atlanta next week,
Wednesday night, the 12th in Atlanta,
at the Vine Club,
and Sunday the 16th in Miami,
at the cheese store.
We're on the road.
Yeah.
Final Sunday road show. The Nouveau Party.
Oh yeah.
Nouveau Party.
Nouveau Party, November 20th, with us, Dospar, Valley, I believe Hardy at Extra Dimensional, and Tom Darling. And it's like you get like the passport, and you go to all the places and get stamped. And Isabel is right here right now making our very first 16600 Nouveau, which is of course Zinfandel and Grenache. Go figure.
Wow, that's quite interesting. Yeah, right along with this, huh?
Yeah,
is
there
it
we go.
bubble gummy?
No, it tastes like fucking wine because Isabel's making it.
All right, Danielle, you got anything?
We're still doing our fall promotion. So yeah, look us up on Instagram or go to the website, and you can get a discount on the wines right now. So.
Jam de Bois.
JamDeBoisWines.com.
Not Jamda.
Not Jamda.
Jam de Bois. Jam de Bois.
Jam de Boise. However you want to pronounce it, I don't care.
Who cares how you pronounce it as long as the credit card number works?
Right.
I'm just happy. I'm happy you're here.
Bart, your club's out.
Club's out. Members come pick up your wine. Just let me know when you want to come, and we'll be there. We'll open some bottles. Songbird Parlor next Tuesday. Still tickets available or reservations available for a dinner with Klein, myself, and Gloria Farrar, and we're promoting our cruise up the Rhone in June of 2026. Still rooms available for that. We've got some stuff we're working on, making it a little beyond just the cruise tours. What else? Looking forward to our spring bottling as the end of harvest now, and wines have all gone dry. Sauvignon Blanc and Chenin, and everything's looking really good. So I'm super excited about all those.
Sweet.
Lighted Tractor Parade.
Come on,
you're a board member.
Lighted Tractor Parade is Thanksgiving, also with the Sip and Shop here on the plaza.
Yeah.
The 29th.
The 29th of November, just after Thanksgiving. The Tractor Parade is a huge hit and really a lot of fun. I will not be there because it's the alumni basketball game for Dane at his high school, and so got to go support that.
Yeah.
GTC Symposium, January 20th, 21st,
contractually obligated.
2nd. We're going to be there. I'm assuming it's probably sold out, but maybe go on the website and see if you can still get.
If I know Barbara Gorder, there's definitely tickets available, even if it is sold out. Just keep making the room bigger.
Yeah.
Love you, Barbara.
Yeah.
Keep pushing the walls out.
That's the thing about those buildings. All you got to do is push a wall.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to whatever dinner we're going to have.
I'm looking forward to the wine we're going to drink.
I'm looking forward to the golf course.
Yeah, of course.
My husband is too.
Yeah.
All
right,
guys.
everybody. See you next week.
Subscribe. Review.
Be nice.
Tell your friends.
Yep.